This is Doug. I'm from Duggys Garage. I wanted to introduce Nathan Summerall from Good Mayhem Racing and also introduce Spunk. This is going to be the Baja 1000 truck. We're going to be racing in sportsman's class. And I just kind of want to do an intro. Nathan has owned this car since brand new. It was his family car. Now he's turned it into a race car, and we're going to take this thing down to Mexico and race it. So I'll just hand it over to Nathan.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. Morning, everyone. I'm Nate from Good Mayhem Racing, and this is the 4Runner that we're going to race the Baja 1000 in. It's got 283,000 miles on it. All of them has been with my family, as Doug has talked about. I got it stock when I graduated from college. My parents were very kind, and this happened to it. I was actually wheeling with Duck and several friends in Houston and other folks around the United States, and I took this truck on many adventures. It was great. It was phenomenal, especially for being a third-gen 4Runner with all of its limited travel and stuff like that. Well, back in the 2017, 2018 timeframe, I got that long travel itch, you know? So I bought the Total Chaos long travel kit, front and rear of the truck. They're extended chromoly arms, and this happened. We raced in the Toyota Jamboree Stampede back in 2018, and we got second place by 0.02 of a second. And the car that beat us was a V8 swapped FJ Cruiser that had a solid axle swap in the front too. It's a really cool rig, but I heard he wasn't too happy about us beating or losing to him just by 0.02 of a second. So we realized at that point we don't suck. And now COVID happened, and I needed to weld a roll cage. All right, then that happened. So that was my 2020 project, was to actually follow the race code and manufacture the roll cage. I'm a degreed welding engineer, so I qualified the TIG welding. I designed the whole roll cage in SolidWorks. I then welded it up. I have about 800 hours into the roll cage alone, and I have enough traceability onto it to not just tell you what metal was used, but also how to duplicate it. I would love to actually provide the plans for other people to make their own roll cages with third-gen 4Runners. And using the Baja 1000 as the catalyst to show that stuff is a really cool thing. I would love to do that.
What sparked you to make a decision to race the Baja 1000?
Sure. So I have always dreamt of doing the Baja 1000. You know, like walking into a Toyota dealership and seeing the Ivan Man Stewart stuff on the wall, yeah. All that memorabilia as a kid. It was amazing. I loved it. And I just had that dream. Like ever since my family even got this 4x4, I was just a little kid looking up going, wow, that thing's huge. I want to race someday. Yeah, and I even referenced that when I was doing science projects as a kid. I got a grand prize at the Toyota Regional Science Fair as a middle schooler. And on that presentation, I said, even though I would love to build race cars, I'd rather race them. This is the best compromise between the two because I'm having to do both. Now, there is a rule with racing in general. You don't race with your own car. We have most certainly violated that rule. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty cool, man. I mean, you've owned this thing since brand new, and now it's turning out into like a full-blown race car, you know? So I'm excited to do this with you, man, and let's finish this thing. I think it's going to be super cool.
Heck yeah, and that is our goal. We're going to go to Mexico at the middle of November, so the actual race is in that November 16th and November 18th time frame. We're going to be there a week beforehand to pre-run and practice and get lost before we get lost on the race course. So Duck's really slicing out some time to do this with my team and where we're going. Shout out to Duck, Steve Tayo with TPM Racing. We also have Colin Ornick of UC Motorsports. We have some decent world-class guys that are helping us out making this dream real, and it definitely takes a village. It really does. So I thank you, Duck, for all your help on this.
No worries. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to be a part of this. I've never done any off-road racing before. But stick me in the car, strap me down, and let's hammer down. I'm super excited.
And speaking of getting strapped down, Next Gen is one of our sponsors. Thank you for helping us with the seats. Let's dive in. All right, so the brainchild of this truck is not the front suspension, even though the Total Chaos setup is fantastic. What's genuinely unique about this 4Runner is the rear coilover conversion in the back. There are 14-inch shocks back there right now, and they are paired in front of a 40-gallon fuel cell. Thank you, FuelSafe, for providing some good technical support and some good deals on that. They helped us out immensely. The rear red part of the roll cage is actually consumable. It is a bash bar for trophy trucks to run into, and that is separate from the rest of the kit. It holds the spare tire mount that's above the fuel cell, and the spare tire mount actually holds the fuel cell in place. From a mounting standpoint, there are 3 different ways that the fuel cell is actually mounted in place. So if one of them fails, there's a lot of redundancy in that. This will have a rear firewall. I just took it out to work on the rear coilovers last night, but we are going to race with Kings primarily. And all of the Kings are brand new. The front Kings were provided by Total Chaos. They helped us out immensely on deals there. And for the rears, we bought them through AccuTune. They did tune them for us, and they are great right out of the box. The rear chase light is the rigid chase bar. That's the modern equivalent of what race code requires, and it looks really cool. The roll cage is all DOM steel tubing. I grew up on BF Goodrich. The original all-terrain tires, the original KOs, are what this truck came with. They were much smaller than these tires, of course. Those ones were 30s, 31s. We're now playing in that 33 to 34 inch tire. We are going to have 17-inch rims to start the race, and we also have spares on 16s. I actually prefer the functionality of the 16s because they get it closer to the brake package. The harnesses and the steering wheels are made by PRP, but the seats are really where it's at. Those were sponsored by Next Gen, and they helped us out making that happen. The front suspension is the plus 3.5-inch long travel kit from Total Chaos. We did maintain 4-wheel drive, and we are planning to use it in Baja. The brakes up at the front are the Tundra 13WLs. It is the big brake upgrade, so we can get a lot less brake fade, in addition to a lot better braking compared to the stock 4Runner setup. The engine is the stock 3.4 liter V6 that's got 170, 180 horsepower to it. If you look, the roll cage is mounted in 4 points in the actual engine bay, and I welded it in there with the engine in the way. And that was particularly challenging. If you see the fire putty in the back, that red stuff, that actually is a fire rated foam that expands and seals when it sees open flame. Anywhere where I have firewall protrusions, I have that stuff in its place to protect us. It's not a race code requirement, but I thought it was a solid idea. We have a Odyssey deep cycle battery, one of the yellow tops. A testament to the manufacturer of that stuff. That battery is 11 years old, I think, and still running great in the Texas heat. We are going to have these Baja Designs XL linkables. There's 6 of them on the front of the truck. We have Squadron Pros in addition to S2s on the bottom side. Those are all Baja Designs. The stuff in the back is rigid. The stuff in the front is Baja Designs. The front bumper you see here is one of the Schrockworks front bumpers. There is a Warren winch inside of that setup. Almost no racers in Baja actually have legit recovery equipment on board. Since this thing was a weekend wheeler, we're just gonna leave that stuff on. It's a little too useful, and this truck is pretty lightweight, all things considered. It only weighs 4,800 pounds. And with fully laden of fuel and people, we'll probably be pushing around 5,300 pounds. The skid plate is completely stock, but the fenders are not. The fenders have been cut and rolled to allow the tires to go up. What's really cool about Total Chaos's suspension package is that you don't just get down travel. Because you're using long arms, you also get up travel. So you have to make sure that your tire's clear on the up travel. Even with the bump stops they provide, you really want to make sure you've got that clearance. And that clearance is in the front is what's necessary for me to run 35s with no rubbing, regardless of position on the travel. The seats are the Next Gen Air Max. They are one of our sponsors. Thank you so much for hooking this up on that Next Gen. We also have the DIY blower kits, and yeah, it actually blows some air into the small of your back. It's great. In front of that, we have a PRP off-road steering wheel with an NRG adapter to fit the steering wheel. We also have a Pyrotech kill switch. The special stuff of this cabin is not in the driver's section, however, it is in the passenger side. So once we get past the OEM gauge cluster, we get to the passenger side. We call that the co-pilot or the navigators or co-driver section. And all of the fancy buttons, all of the S-pods, the police sirens, the ham radios, and the navigation are on that side. If you look closely, you will see a Garmin Tread Baja Racing Edition. That is an amazing piece of kit. Is on a telescoping mount. That way the co-pilot can get it into a comfortable position and also have legit grab handles. There is a PCI Race Radio's intercom setup inside here. We have a helmet fan. We have a seat fan, the DIY blower kit from Next Gen, and another one for the co-pilot. That fourth switch we're not using at this point. So we have 3 fire extinguishers on board. We have 2 Kitty 5-pounders. We can upgrade to 10s if we had to. But there is a 4-liter Lifeline 2000 that is hard mounted and hardwired or hard plumbed through the entire car. It has 8 nozzles. 4 of them are splashing the driver and co-driver, 2 are in the engine bay, and 2 are back at the fuel cell. Extinguisher, the AFF fluid comes out of those blue nozzles. With these coilovers is actually going to be hiding behind a firewall. The firewall's already done, but I had to do these new coilover mounts. The inside of the 4Runner, the B pillar section of this truck, is really cool because we have a lot of storage space. It is a 36 to 40 hour race from start to finish, so one person cannot drive it and co-drive it. You're going to have multiple drivers, multiple co-drivers, and a network of chase vehicles. This is a dry brake. That is how you quickly change fuel. We can put gallons per minute into this truck, so if you think about what you see at the gas station, multiply it by like 10, and that's what you can do with a dry brake setup. There should be around 283,000 miles on this truck. Again, my parents bought it new when I was 8 years old. I grew up with it, and now it's a race car.